When we examine ourselves, we must look for how we respond to the voice of conscience within us. When those moments of impulse come and we are tempted, when sin and passion stirs within us, every one of us, we must examine how we respond. Do we respond by listening to our conscience, responding and repenting, recognizing the grace of God working within us, calling us to life? Or do we choose death? Do we ignore or even suppress the voice of conscience within us, just as Herodias demanded that the voice of St. John the Baptist be silenced, even to killing him? Do we deny the voice of conscience within us, that is, the voice of God speaking to us? Do we suppress it? Do we kill our conscience? Do we kill the grace of God working within us for the sake of that momentary anger or carnal pleasure or ego or pride? Does that temptation prompt the passion and sin within our hearts that we turn away from God? Every human heart, all of us are capable of being charmed, possessed, overcome by the passions, by the things of this world. And we must recognize this within ourselves if we are to truly overcome it. We cannot overcome this enemy in the battle unless we recognize who the enemy is. It is those passions, those weaknesses stirring within us that we must recognize and overcome. Now, we can't all literally live out in a desert as St. John the Baptist did. St. John the Baptist, who withdrew from the life of men to be close to God. It isn't possible when we have a family, when we have responsibilities, to literally just walk away. Neither it is a good thing. It is not a good thing to abandon our responsibilities in this way if we have children and a wife. And so every one of us then must look for ways that we must create a little desert in our hearts. Not necessarily a physical desert or a physical wilderness, but a little desert, a place to flee to, a place of silence and stillness, a time that we can structure in our lives where, like St. John the Baptist, we may be alone with God, where we may flee from the demands and the distractions of the world, where we can give ourselves simply to being with God. We must create this little desert within us. Flee from the world of carnal pleasures, pride, flattery. We must flee from spiritual death. We can only do this by creating that place, that time of stillness in our lives, creating a little desert in our hearts. And we must do this, of course, ultimately, that we may attain a little, just a little, of the spiritual stature that St. John the Baptist attained even in his mother's womb.